You guys, I have incredible news. We got shorts. No, this is not YouTube shorts. This is not digital shorts. This is not Saluja shorts. We got shorts on Superman's body. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, yeah, but we saw that picture that James Gunn released a couple weeks ago of Superman with his whole outfit on. You could kind of see some shorts. If you looked, you could tell that that color was not the same color as the rest of the suit. And if you really looked, you could be like, oh yeah, it's kind of a very faint red. It was clear that Superman would have some sort of shorts or trunks situation going on. Yes, I understand that. However, today, the Superman, whatever we're calling it, the Superman movie, Superman, no longer Superman Legacy. That is what it was called. That was the Legacy title. Today, Superman was filming in Cleveland, the Cleve, as it is called, on the street. They were doing a scene with a bunch of characters, which we'll get to, and we got the first great look at Superman's new costume, the David Corenswet James Gunn version, and it has some pretty bold colors, and right in the middle there, in the crotch area, you got some bright red shorts. Now, I just want to say, good. That is good. I am happy with that. I'm so happy. When I saw the shorts, my face lit up like, ooh, we got shorts. The rest of the costume, we'll get to it. But the shorts are a win. And I do think they are more important than any other part of the costume to me. There's other things that I like and dislike maybe, and there's other characters with costumes on that I think are interesting. But as far as the highlight of this whole thing for me, it was the shorts. Now, like background, Superman Legacy comes out next year in around a year. I think it's a little longer than a year. So they're filming it today. It seems like they've started filming other parts of it for sure, but this is the first shot they've done on set, on location, in a major city. So they dressed up Cleveland to look like Metropolis. There's some damage. Here's what I'm not going to do. I'm going to try my best not to spoil this with details, because there are some details here that you could kind of work backwards and say, okay, so this is probably what happens in the scene before this. And I do think this will be a somewhat dramatic scene. I don't know if this will be like the finale, but I'm betting the scene that they were shooting comes in maybe about halfway through the movie. That's just a guess, but we see a lot of characters. Some people are speculating about this weekend because of different pieces of the set that were being set up. And we see other extras and stuff, which I'm not going to, like I said, this is not me trying to break down the scene and explain it. And I'm going to try to be as vague as possible. But the characters you cannot miss. So Superman, obviously played by David Corenswet with his new outfit. Now, things I love about it. The shorts, great. The color, I think, is fantastic. I love the blue and the red. They're great. The one thing I love, the cape has the big golden S on it. I do think it could maybe be a little bigger, but I've never had a really great sense on what size that should be. Like, I would also say for me, and this is just for me, the S logo on the Superman's costume could also be a little bit bigger. But, that's a very person-to-person kind of taste thing. And I don't think it makes a huge difference in terms of the presentation of Superman. Like, a bigger or smaller one doesn't mean all that much. So, it's just, I'm sure they had a bunch of versions and they all, I'm sure this thing has been focus grouped to death in things like that. Like, people have turned little dials when the emblem was slightly bigger, and we figured out what the best one is. I don't hate this emblem. I think it's fine. I like the more classic Superman emblem, obviously, with the more kind of goofy S. And I'll talk about the difference in philosophy. But overall, I think the S is fine. I think the fabric is good. I like that it has that kind of almost like a felty. It's got a texture to it that is not the usual Superman costume texture we're used to from Henry Cavill or even Tyler Hoechlin, which is that kind of plasticky, rubberized bump, lots of details. And I think some of those look great, but I think this almost feels like more of a homemade costume, which I think is nice. However, there's certain elements of it that seem to be borrowing from the New 52 design, which was one of Superman's costumes. It was not a homemade costume. It was a costume that was developed, I believe, as a bit of Kryptonian battle armor that was repurposed by Superman as his just plain old costume. Now, a little background on this. Usually, and this has been changed a lot, the Superman costume is either, or uniform, or whatever you want to call it, is designed by Ma and Pa Kent, or created by Ma and Pa Kent, because I believe this is true most times. I could be way off. The suit is built out of parts of Superman's ship. So like the cape is a blanket he was wearing, and they are able to, take it apart and turn it into a full costume. It's made out of a more or less indestructible fiber. I believe there was a fire in the Kent farm or household or something like that, and everything burnt but the things that Superman was wrapped in. That was when they realized, like, oh, this is indestructible. We can use this for Superman's costume. And this played out a couple of different ways. Sometimes just the cape is the repurposed Kryptonian blanket. I believe sometimes all the thread has been kind of ripped off and then re-threaded into this suit. I don't know how that's done, but they figured it out. I think the belt is usually the seat belt on the spaceship. So all this stuff comes from Krypton, technically, but the Kents turn it into a Superman costume. Mostly because they're like, well, if he's going to keep doing stuff like this, his clothes keep exploding, we need to give him something. One thing that's important, when the Superman movie came out, Jor-El was played by Marlon Brando, an actor who was very popular and obviously very old Hollywood royalty. This is the era of his career where he is reading lines off of cue cards on the actors in front of him. One of the things he was very clear about, because he was Jor-El from Krypton, everyone knows that's how it's pronounced, and he was like, well, obviously I want a big Superman symbol too. And the writers and directors were like, well, that's for Superman. You're Superman's dad. You're not Superman, so why would you have that? And he said, I should have one. And then they went, okay, I guess the S isn't an S. What if it's like the symbol of the House of El? And Jor-El and Kal-El would all wear this. Kara Zor-El, who is Superman's cousin, can wear a similar S on her costume. So basically, the costume went from being something that is made of material not from Earth, but designed for Earthlings. Designed with a big S because his name is Superman. I don't know why he needed a big S. Like, you wanted to break up the color a little bit, but I'm pretty sure people knew when he flew around that was Superman because, he's a big blue guy flying around. I don't think the S helped to clear that up, but either way, that was why it existed. Later on, because of the Superman movie, it was changed so that it was the symbol of the House of El that just happened to look like an S. And I think this was even kind of reverse engineered, so people saw the S and went, who's that? Oh, that must be Superman. Not positive about that. The origins played out many different times. Sometimes the Superman suit is made of things from Earth, and it is not made of indestructible Kryptonian material, but because of the bioelectric field that surrounds Superman and allows him to pick up a building, and hold it, and it doesn't just break into a million pieces, that keeps the suit together as well. That is an explanation I think is fine. And so far, I like all of these answers. I like that Superman decided, I want to look like this, and he or Ma and Pa Kent or someone designed this suit for him to be Superman. In the New 52, there were two versions of the Superman suit. There was the version that was just a t-shirt with pants. That was just like the basic, proto-Superman suit. But then the main suit we know from the New 52 comics, the Justice League War movie and all that, is, I believe, I'm 95% sure on this, Kryptonian battle armor that has been repurposed into being the Superman suit. And it makes sense. It looks a little bit more military. And it looks more alien because besides the high collar, which I wouldn't say the collar on the David Corn sweatsuit is quite as high as the collar in the New 52, but it is a collar, which is something that Superman usually does not have. And there's also the, I don't even know what you call them, but the hand, kind of almost the sleeve goes up and slightly covers the back of his hand. This is something that's never been in a live action suit before, not even the Man of Steel suit, but here it is on David Corn sweat. And also, because it was Kryptonian battle armor, and this is the 2010s, 2011, whenever New 52 was, they also gave it space lines, which is something that the MCU has become kind of notorious for, because like a character like Vision, who just kind of has an android body, has to have, all these vertical lines with the diagonals giving other vertical lines, and it all, packages together. I'm sure there's a good reason for it. The texture is appealing to us, the viewers. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But whatever it is, that has become the thing in the MCU. And even like the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 costumes that I think were more faithful to the 2008 relaunch of the Guardians, those blue and red costumes, they even had some extra space lines on them. And the space lines is the name for them. I'm not sure what you would call these vertical lines, but so that had space lines. This one also has space lines. I guess what it is it segments the costume, so it's not just broken up by, the shorts and the emblem. You also have like a shoulder pad here, even though you would assume it's made out of the same material. That just kind of exists to kind of show this is his shoulder. And, I'm not a costume designer. I don't know exactly why this has become the thing, but I've seen it happen over the course of my life. It's gone from Christopher Reeve, which technically I wasn't alive for those, but like that was Superman, and then we got Brandon Routh, Henry Cavill, Tyler Hoechlin. Like we've taken a lot of shots at the Superman costume. None of them have had those lines. I'd say the closest we got was the Henry Cavill one that did have that kind of definition that is something that modern superhero costumes tend to have. The Tyler Hoechlin version did have a little bit more going on in terms of how the cape was connected to the suit. I think that's something also, especially in the Supergirl version of his suit, the cape had it kind of goes into like a cape hole almost on the shoulder. I don't like that as much. I like that it's just a cape kind of stuffed into a shirt. I think the best Superman suit that's ever been put to screen, besides the Reeve suit, which is great, but besides that, I think the best Superman suit we've had is the Brandon Routh Crisis on Infinite Earth suit. I think that gets the aesthetic of the Superman suit in terms of the material. The neckline's great. It has shorts, which I think is great. And the symbol is a different Superman symbol than usual. But just in terms of I think that should be the blueprint going forward. I think the Tyler Hoechlin suit is almost there, although I think that one's a little bit more kind of muscly. I think it has too much of that plasticky texture on it. Whereas I think the Brandon Routh outfit felt like the classic Superman outfit, just something that was created by some farmers to look like a strongman or another superhero or something like that. And I think that's the difference in the philosophy. Is this suit supposed to be an outfit created by some well-meaning farmers to make Clark Kent look like a hero, look like someone people can trust? Or is it repurposed Kryptonian battle armor with the symbol of the House of El on it? Like, how much Krypton is in this suit? I'm okay with the suit having the DNA of Krypton being made from indestructible Kryptonian fabrics and stuff like that. But I guess aesthetically, is the suit reminiscent of human culture, Earth culture, strongmen, superheroes, all that stuff, or alien culture, fancy technology, Kryptonian, battle armor? And for me, I prefer the original version. And that is why the parts of the suit that I'm not a humongous fan of are the collar, are the hand thingies, and obviously the lines. I think without those, I don't think that would make the suit perfect or anything like that, because I think you would kind of have to work around those. It's not just like you maybe, if you didn't have the lines, you probably make the emblem a little bit bigger. I don't mind the bagginess for now. I think that's something that they'll probably mess around with in post. I think a lot of this stuff will be messed around with in post. And I do think when people tend to say this, and I think they're right, they'll probably look better in motion. Not to say it doesn't look good, but it was not created for, random pictures from people in a building across the street. Like it was created to be filmed. So even in the bagginess, that might look baggy, but then if you shoot it from the right angle, it doesn't look like that. So the big takeaway, it looks good. The color is good. The shorts are obviously fantastic. The hair is great. I love the little hair curl. And I think there's other things about the suit I don't love. Now, one possibility is this was originally pitched as Superman Legacy, this movie about Clark bringing his Kryptonian and human heritage together, is maybe this is suit 1. This is Clark takes the Kryptonian battle armor, turns it into a suit, and maybe part of the lesson of the movie is he's got to make his own thing. He's got to do something from scratch to look like just what he thinks the Superman costume is. And that could be a simpler version of this. These movies love to throw in 50 costumes so you can sell a million toys. And it would be smart, I think, for them to hide one of the costumes. Now, I think there's something slightly, working against you if the costume you show people is this, in my opinion, less good costume than a very faithful, simple Superman costume. But, by a year from now, when the movie's out, will any of us remember that time we saw this in the Cleveland pictures? Probably not. But okay, so that's Clark. That's David Cornsweet. Looks pretty good. Eddie Gaethetti, Darwin from X-Men First Class, Dev Ayesa from For All Mankind, is behind Superman or next to Superman in a couple of shots, playing Michael Holt, aka Mr. Terrific, and he looks perfect. That is an incredible Mr. Terrific costume. And to be fair, this has not been as complicated of a costume. The Mr. Terrific costume, as it is traditionally drawn, has not changed too much, and it is much simpler. He doesn't have to figure out if it's from an alien planet or not. It is a jacket with the word fair play on it because of an older character that was the original Mr. Terrific, a throwback to him. It has the same color scheme, the black, white, and red, and then obviously the big mask made of nanotechnology in the shape of a T that protects his identity. That design has not changed very much. since it was created. And if it has, it's just kind of like the difference in what a jacket looks like. But like if you take the Mr. Terrific from Strange Adventures, the recent comic, I think that is pretty much this, right? Like that's what they just took that and put it here. I think the T on his face looks terrific. Like hair is great. I don't know. It's just perfect. I think that's like exactly what you want from that character. And that is cool. Love to see Mr. Terrific. He's one of those fan favorite characters that everybody that knows comics is like, they should have had this guy in movies forever. So, and I'm not going to go into the other characters that showed up in this shoot because I do think this is kind of a spoiler for not just who's here, because obviously these guys are all just normal characters that you wouldn't be shocked to see in this. But the context, I think, is a little specific. But I'll just say we saw some other characters in this that all looked fine. The characters looked similar to what you would expect based on what those comic characters look like, but nothing super out of the ordinary. I think James Gunn has cast actors that already look a lot like their characters. David Corenswet already looks like Superman. You know, let's say, for example, Rachel Brosnahan already kind of looks like Lois Lane. So you put them in the outfit they're famous for wearing, maybe the color they're famous for wearing, it all comes together. Am I excited to see other characters over the week? Yes. I don't like this kind of like, oh, let's, look at all the behind the scenes images and try to piece together what the movie is, or even like, I just don't like seeing it because then you see, the scene start and you go, oh, that's this scene. Oh, that means this person's going to survive. And right, that's the one with Mr. Terrific in it. Like, I don't think that's fun. However, I am just really curious what Lex Luthor is going to look like in this. And I'm really curious what Guy Gardner is going to look like in this. There's even other characters like the Engineer, where I'm like, I have no idea what they're doing with that character. We've seen some behind the scenes of them, but like, is there going to be a different look? Maybe there will be other characters that show up. I'm excited to see them. I think the main thing for me is, does this seem like it is the finale of the movie, or will shots from this shoot end up in the trailer? I think it's likely that some of them will. And that's why, for me, like, it's not like I'm going to go into the movie having never seen Lex Luthor, never seen Nicholas Hoult Lex Luthor. I'll watch the trailer. I'm sure he'll be in it. But I am excited to see more of it. I think overall, this costume continues to look better than I expected and better than, the last time I saw it. I think this looks much better than the picture that they released, mostly because it just has the color. And I think a lot of people wanted this bright, exciting Superman, and they may use color grading to turn this into that dark blue kind of, I don't know, like, honestly, like MCU-ish kind of muddy coloring, but I have a feeling they won't. Otherwise, why would they bother make the suit like this? So anyway, I like it. I think it looks great. I'm very happy we got the shorts. I'd love to see an interview with James Gunn where he talks about it, why he chose these bits of costume, specifically why he chose the shorts, because I think it says a lot about what is an essential part of Superman to him. And I think the shorts give him a little bit of extra humanity that I think is nice. I've thought about this way too much. It doesn't matter. I'm sure the movie's going to be good. I'm sure in 2 years we'll all be super used to it and the costume will be like one of our favorites. Or the parts that we didn't like now, we probably won't like then. I still don't think the collar looks better than like a wide open neckline. I still don't think the little, pointy wrist thingies look better than just regular sleeves. But in the context of the movie, maybe this movie will be so perfect that I will learn to love this. That is very possible. It says the update on the costume and a little bit of history on the Superman costume and my thoughts on it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.